Alrighty, so I'm gonna dive straight in terms of talking about yesterday Leeds Cup action because in about 10 minutes from now on, the NYCFC versus Querétaro game is about to start, and most likely I might miss the first 10 or 20 minutes of it. And tonight, since I actually have time, I'm going to actually be able to review all of the games from tonight's Leeds Cup action because there's only really 3 games that is gonna happen tonight in terms of the Sunday Leeds Cup action. But yeah, in terms of last night, I mean, there were definitely some surprises. We had another major upset that involving an MLS team knocking off against a Liga MX team that nobody saw coming. But we start off with the first one, which is the Philadelphia Union versus Charlotte FC. Again, I'm gonna only review 3 of these 7 games in deep detail. The other games I'll mention in the other Bowl Noble Resort after I review the third game. But the first one between the Union and Charlotte, and again, this is the thing about teams that are not doing very well in the league, where this tournament it feels like it's a fresh restart. It feels like it's a big opportunity to salvage their season. And I think if there's one team that are not doing very well in the league and they can really use this tournament as a way to salvage their season, it's the Philadelphia Union because they play really well in this game against a Charlotte team that again we know how good they are in the league, and maybe they could be a dark horse heading into this Leeds Cup tournament as well. Because last year, nobody expected them to made it all the way to the quarter final of this tournament, but they did. But in the first half, not much chances early, as there was only one shot. 12 minutes into this game, Elliott would then heads it wide from close range before Baribo would puts it over from close. As I thought the Union started to dictate this game, they were creating some chances, but the problem is that that's kind of what Charlotte wants to do. They're a team that likes to sit deep and trying to make it tough to trying to break down, and that was going to be a thing that the Union's going to have to figure out, trying to break down the Charlotte defense, which has been tough for opposition to try to crack on. Well, Glesnes tried to do so, but he puts it wide from long range. But then in the 33rd minute, they do reach the Charlotte defense, and guess who? It's Ty Baribo. He cannot stop scoring for this Union team. Apparently, that continued into Leeds Cup break as he scored here to give the Union a 1-0 lead, and that's been coming too because the Union was really piling on the pressure. And we do go to halftime with the Union leading 1-0. In the second half, Ajiman was in on goal there, but it was deflected wide as I thought Charlotte started the second half the better side. They were looking to try to get the equalizer. Danaran then hits one right to Kalina. We then go for a period where not much really happened between both of these teams. Normally, that when I say that involving a Charlotte game, that's usually in favor of the Crown. But in this game, that's not the case because yeah, Charlotte is down 1-0, and that this is also a thing that we don't usually see Charlotte get themselves uh too much, which is getting himself behind and has to kind of dig themselves out of the hole. Glesnes would then heads it wide from close range. We then get more stop and go action, which you feel like that this is going to be heavily in favor of the Union. They want this to be as slow pace as possible, trying to hold on to this 1-0 lead. And especially, I'm pretty sure Union fans are hoping that this team could go for a second goal, but at the same time, you need to, of course, keep this to be a low pace and make sure that Charlotte doesn't get any opportunity because this is also a team that has been struggling to trying to keep leads lately. Shradetsky then had a shot that was deflected and wide before Kalina denied Barrio from close. As the time winds down, it was the Union this time was sitting deep and trying to hold on to the lead, which in the end they were able to do so because Charlotte they don't really have a lot of good attacking presence. I mean, they're already a team that doesn't have that talent on the attack, so they have to try to figure out and try to break down a low block. Yeah, it's gonna be even more tougher for them. And in the end, the Union they get a 1-0 win in this one. The shots in this one, 10 shots for the 7 that Charlotte has, 4 shots on goal for the none that Charlotte has, 1 shots off target for the 4 that the Union has, 1 shot that was blocked for the 6 that Charlotte has, and possession wise, 52% possession compared to 48% possession the Union has in this game. I really feel like this might be the last chance for the Union to compete for a trophy in this tournament. I mean, I know, yes, they can theoretically turn it on in the second half of the season and maybe go on an MLS Cup run for this core that it seems like they're gonna definitely dismantle this core this off season. But yeah, this might be the best opportunity to do so because again, it's a fresh new tournament. We talked about this before with teams that are struggling in league play. If have a chance to look at this tournament and realize that it's a fresh new tournament, they should play with no fear whatsoever and maybe do well in this tournament, then they can salvage their in MLS that is not doing very well, and that's exactly what the Union want to do. They want to win at least one last trophy for this core that, as I mentioned, most likely is going to be dismantled this offseason. Now, moving on in the next one, we're going to look at the defending Leagues Cup champion, that is Inter Miami. So, coming into this game, everybody knew that they were heavy favorites in this game against Puebla. But I will say this, Puebla fought hard in this game. They definitely fought harder in this game compared to last season against Minnesota, where they got absolutely embarrassed by Minnesota. Not only at Allianz Field, but embarrassed the fact that Minnesota were down to 10 men for the majority of the game, and yet they still lost by 4-0, and some of those goals that were scored for Minnesota came when they were down a man. Now, early on, though, it didn't look like it got off to a great start for Puebla because Wenger would score looked like the first goal for Inter Miami. Unfortunately, the flag did not agree with him there, so that goal didn't count. The first shot of the game did see Velasco puts it wide from close before Suarez missed wide from close ranges. I thought it was a lively start to this game. Both of these teams were looking for the opening goal, and the opening goal, it came in the ninth minute as Miguel Rojas would score from Robert Taylor to give Inter Miami a 1-0 lead. Then he was looking for a second goal just 2 minutes later, but Jimenez was able to deny him there. And in the post would deny Gresso, but it was recycled. There was a second effort there from Robert Taylor, but he puts it wide. But there was no doubt that Miami has found their groove, and this looked like this could get ugly for Puebla, because especially if Miami can find their groove and start to go on the attack, that second, third, and fourth goal is not gonna be far behind. But for Puebla credit, they did at least weather that little storm after they gave up the opening goal early into this game, and they started had their chances of their own too. Castillo would puts it wide from the free kick before De Bruyne which struck the wall on the free kick. Then Jimenez would deny Taylor from close range before Dos Santos would tip one over from Castillo on the free kick. So CJ Dos Santos get a rare start for Inter Miami. Inter Miami elected to rest Calendar in this game, which makes sense because knowing that Miami was heavily favored against a Puebla side that hasn't been doing well lately in the MX. They were going to be heavy favorites in this one. But again, I fought Puebla. They at least they had some good chances on the free kick. They were at least keeping this game interesting. But the problem is most of these chances has been pretty easy to deal with from CJ Dos Santos, and some of them were not on target. But we do head to halftime with Miami leading 1-0. In the second half, Velasco would hits one right to Dos Santos. Not much chances really created up to that point, which I thought that in favor of Miami. But one thing that Miami know is that they want to get that second goal to make sure that they can cruise their way to get this victory, and they got it in the 72nd minute as Luis Suarez would made his introduction to the Leagues Cup, at least in the goal scoring department. He scored from Alba to make it 2-0 in favor of Inter Miami. Suarez is going to be a big part of Miami chances of repeating, because they know that most likely Messi is not going to be in this tournament. He's going to be the guy that's going to have to carry the torch, along with the numerous supporter cast that this Inter Miami team has had. And I think one of the reason why Miami has been winning games without Messi is because the supporter cast has finally showed up. I think that was kind of the one thing I questioned in the beginning of the season, but ever since they started to make some signing and the supporter cast has hit from day one, it is no surprise that this team now looks even more dangerous, and that even without Messi and maybe some of his friends, it feels like they could still cope with it, because they just have so much depth in this team, and who say that they can potentially repeat as champion at this tournament. Jimenez then denied Taylor from close range before Ruiz missed wide on the header. Miami were looking to try to get a third goal, and that second goal really killed the momentum for Puebla, because Puebla still believed when they were down only 1-0 that maybe they could get something out of it, and that second goal was just a killing blow goal, and now it seems like Miami were looking at trying to pour it on. Resso tried to do so, but he puts it wide from long range before Campana hits one right to Jimenez, and then Alfonso would hits one right to Jimenez in the first minute of stoppage time. But yeah, in the end, it was a comfortable 2-0 win for Inter Miami. I wouldn't say it was the best performance for Inter Miami in this game. They definitely put up more great performance compared to this one, but hey, they get the easy 3 points against Puebla, and it looks like they could potentially move on. Though again, the next game against Tigres is going to be a real test, because we know how good Tigres it is, and they are definitely one of the team alongside with Rayados, and maybe even Club America could be favorite winning this tournament. Shots in this one, 16 shots compared to 13 that Puebla has, off, 2 shot on goal compared to 8 that Miami has, 5 shots off target compared to 4 that Puebla has, 7 shots that was blocked compared to 2 that Miami has, and possession wise, 59% possession compared to 41% possession that Puebla has in this game. Now, moving on, in terms of the last match, I'll do a full detail review. Oh man, they were so close. They were so close of pulling off. I think even a bigger upset compared to the one that we saw between Austin and Pumas, where Austin, of course, against all odds, even when they were down a man, somehow were able to hold on to beat against Pumas, which was one the more informed team in in the in the Apertura season. But the reason why I said this one is even more impressive is because unlike where Austin at least kind of had some home field advantage. I mean, Q2 Stadium wasn't really completely taken over by Pumas fan. There was Austin fan in this one. This one it was a pretty much virtually a road game for the Quakes. I mean, they also mentioned that this game also broke the Leeds Cup record in terms of attendance. 50,000, of course, showed up in this one, and mind you, 50,000 of those, I would say about 49,000 of those were Chivas fan, and this again, it felt like it was a road game for the Quakes, even though they were playing in their region at Levi Stadium. But I gotta say, the Quakes they put up probably one of the best, if not the best, performance that they had. And while yes, the narrative did come back to fight this team, a team that just have a lot of issue when it comes to holding on to leads. In fact, that's kind of the case for both of my team. Both of my team is having a lot of issue this season holding on to leads. Against all else, they still were able to win this one because one of the most redeeming factor of the Leeds Cup is that even if you blow a lead, that would feel like you drop points. At least you get to still win the game in a PK shootout. Now you do still drop one point though, but still, the Quakes have already done better and have already got more points that they have got compared to last season in the Leeds Cup group stage. And they got off to a great start too, because in the 6th minute, Jeremy Abovasi, yes, it's finally over. He finally broke that goal scoring drought that he's been going through this season. He scored from Espinoza to make it 1-0 in favor of the Quakes, and yeah, what a time for that drought to end in a season where it's been probably the most frustrating season Jeremy Abovasi has ever had in his career. I mean, it's hard to believe he used to be a 10 plus goal guarantee score for both the Quakes and the Portland Timbers. But this season, man, it's just not happening, and it must feel really good for him to finally get on the goal scoring chart. But that also was the first shot of the game, and that would also be the only shot for the first 15 minutes. As I thought the Quakes done a great job in terms of neutralizing this Chivas attack. In fact, pretty much for 70 minutes, Chivas didn't really create any big opportunity whatsoever in this one. So, as I said that, Chavez would miss wide from close in the 18th minute before K. Cal would hit one right to Daniel in the 21st minute. K. Cal obviously playing against his former team, and he would be a big part of why the Quakes, of course, would end up winning this game, as we'll talk about later in the PK shootout. Abosi then looked for a second, but he was denied by Angel before Gonzalez would hit one right to Daniel in the 34th minute. Yes, Daniel was back. Between the stick. I am so glad that Danielle, of course, is back between the stick. Now, I'm not sure if the Quakes maybe rush him to be back between the stick, but it is pretty clear that they desperately need him to be back between the stick because the Quakes basically have no good goalkeeping option right now. Chivas, of course, had some chances, but again, most of these chances were either low percentage effort and it's just kind of easy save for Danielle. In fact, it's almost like stat padding save for Danielle with the way that some of them just kind of hit right toward him. Gutierrez then missed wide from long range, and we do head to halftime with the Quakes leading 1-0. In the second half, Cal would hit one right to Danielle in the 52nd minute. If K Cal would have scored, I wonder what Cal is going to do. I'm assuming he's probably not going to celebrate because again, it is against his former team, especially have him bring as a homegrown has developed him to now get a chance to play for Chivas. But we'll never know what happened if KCal did, of course, score against the Quakes. And I think that also would be the most San Jose Earthquakes thing to do when they see one of their former players score against them straight away. But Ibosi then missed that wide from the header. I thought 1-0 clearly was not enough for the Quakes. Knowing this team has had so much issue this season in terms of holding on to lead, you just kind of had a feeling Chivas was going to have something to save later on. Beltron then hits one right to Danielle before Alvarado would miss wide from close in the 70th minute. Chivas, started to take over this game, which is kind of expected because this is also where I expected the Quakes started to play bunker ball and hope to hold on to the lead, which pretty much 99% of the time it just doesn't go well whatsoever. Gonzalez then missed wide from close range. We then get some coming together between both of these teams. And then we got even a bigger coming together, and this is when tempers really started to flare. And this is understandable because I'm pretty sure Chivas must be absolutely frustrated that they cannot break down this Quakes defense, and especially there was a lot of pressure coming into this game for Chivas, and really in this tournament as well, because after last year's debacle in the Leagues Cup, their fans is not going to be happy if they see them fail again, especially against the worst team in MLS by a country mile. So yeah, you can clearly see these players, they were frustrated. They just cannot get anything going to penetrate this Quakes uh defensive resistance. Though Brazzaro would head right to Daniel before Gonzalez would head one onto the post in the 5th minute stoppage time, despite the fact that he was being wide open in the back post. Honestly, that moment I thought that was it. I thought that was the moment where the Quakes would give up the goal to give Chivas the equalizer. And I even said the woodwork now is playing a big part in terms of the Quakes' effort to try to hold on. But if there's one thing that just kind of sums up this season for the Quakes is that they just cannot hold on to leads, because literally at the death, really the final kick of this game, Alvarado would score from Chavez here to tie the game up at one apiece. Now this was a bit controversial because Rodriguez had some had to come off with some cramp, and obviously the referee decided not to let him back onto the pitch. I mean, I might be biased saying this as a Quakes fan, but I feel I can understand then why Rodriguez, and I can also understand why a lot of Quakes fans are very frustrated about this, and I do kind of agree the fact that that was a little unfair. The fact that they decided not to wave him onto the pitch, and again, the Quakes were down to 10 men momentarily because of it. If Rodriguez, of course, was in this game, then you could argue maybe that goal, of course, wouldn't happen. Though again, this is knowing this is a Quakes team that just giving up goals like crazy this season. Again, I don't know if it will determine, but certainly I can also understand, and I do kind of agree in some sort that yeah, I think the ref uh made a huge mistake there when it comes to not waving back Rodriguez, when clearly Rodriguez looks like he was ready to be back on the pitch. And it's also important to note that in the Leeds Cup, that rule where we see in MLS where if you don't get on the off the pitch, or well, actually not get off the pitch, but are able to get back up on your feet within 15 seconds, you basically are forced to be staying on the sideline for about 2 minutes. The rule does not apply to the Leeds Cup. So yeah, this is like going back to the old school way, and this again is where I think Quakes fans have every right to be angry, because if he's okay, just wave him back on. You don't need to just have him wait the 2 minutes like what we probably could have seen in terms of MLS play. Though that rule, in terms of how it's been implemented, it has been very inconsistent when it comes to how they implemented this season in MLS. But it's important to note that that rule does not exist in the Leagues Cup tournament this year. But that being said, we go to a PK shootout because again, it can end in a draw. And as I said, the one redeeming factor for the Quakes coming into this game is that if they are going to blow a late lead like they did in this one, at least they have a chance to redeem themselves in the PK shootout. And they did exactly that. As Pellegrino wins the PK shootout in round 5. This happened after Chivas actually missed 2 penalty. Quakes obviously missed one, but the decisive missed penalty came from K Cow, who, yeah, I think he secretly still loved the San Jose Earthquakes, because when it was his time to step up to take the penalty, he basically blasted that one back to Meta International Airport. And something tells me that to this day probably that ball still haven't landed because of how bad that he took that PK attempt. But yeah, in the end, as I said, the Quakes, they get the 4-3 win in the PK shootout. The shots in this one, and this is actually wrong. Let me just switch the team name, because the Quakes did not had 22 shots compared to 7 that Chivas had. It's actually the opposite around. It should be 22 shots compared to 7 in favor of Chivas. 6 shots on goal compared to 2 that the Quakes had. 1 shot that was blocked compared to 7 that Chivas had. 1 shots off target compared to 7 that Chivas had. 8 shots that was blocked compared to 4 that the Quakes had, and possession wise 64% possession compared to 36% possession that Chivas has, or the Quakes has in this game. And even though I know, obviously, at the end of the day, the Quakes were so close of getting all 3 points, and if they could get that 3 points, then it could pretty much put them in even a better position than them getting 2 points here in terms of moving on into the next round. Because as I said before, just because you win the PK shoot out doesn't mean that you would still be in a good position in terms of moving on, because now you just gave up a point to your opposition, like what we've seen here with Chivas now getting a point out of this one despite the disaster that they had in this game. But honestly, I had no expectation coming into this tournament for the Quakes. I mean, I definitely wish that they, of course, would do well to salvage what has been just a disastrous season in league play. So the fact that for once they at least get some good moments of beating the likes of Chivas, and I know Chivas has been kind of mediocre for the past couple of years, and in this season I heard they're kind of right in the middle of the pack as well. But considering the fact that this is a Quakes team that have not won a game. Well, they have won one game against Chicago, but before that, they have not won a single game back in May. And this is a team that have been giving up goals at will. The fact that it took 97 minutes for Chivas to finally break through, and probably there was some controversy surrounding the referee not waving one of the Quakes defender, that played a part of why the Quakes conceded a late goal and winning a PK shootout. Excuse me, but let me just kind of enjoy this good one fewer good moment that the Quakes, of course, have had in terms so in the midst of just this disastrous season, and on par of what we saw back in 2018 with the San Jose Earthquakes team. Now, moving on into looking at the other resort, because there was also 4 other games that I didn't really they keep too much eye on it, and decide not to do a fully detailed review on it. And we start off with the first one, which is right now Atlas is actually the only team to win a Leeds Cup game against their MLS opponent. Liga MX has definitely gone off to a slow start in this tournament. Though again, we shall see what happens when we do see the big boys start to come in. So the likes of Tigres and Rayados, they still haven't played yet. So we'll see how they will do when they face against MLS opponent. But yeah, this was kind of I wouldn't say it's a little bit surprised, because Atlas actually has done pretty well, at least in the beginning of the Apertura season. But to go on the road to play against a Dynamo team that has been very good this season at home under Ben Olsen, yeah, this is kind of a little bit of a surprising result. And then in the next game, and I actually got the score wrong in this one. Oh, by the way, in the Houston and Atlas game, the winner was from Jaime Lozano, scoring from Garcia to win it for Atlas in the 83rd minute. Now in the other game, also a 1-0 result, it was New England that gets a 1-0 win against Mazatlan. Panayiotou would score his first career goal for New England. In fact, he's not the last player to score their first career goal for their club. There was a lot of players that scored their first career goal for their club in terms of these other Novo Resort. But he scored here from Polster to give the 1-0 lead, and that turns out to be the final score of this game as well. Now, in the other game, we got St. Louis winning 2-1 against FC Dallas. Dallas actually took the lead in the 18th minute from Sam Junka and Ariola. But then we had a couple of firsts for St. Louis. First, it was Cedric Teixeira was for his first career goal for St. Louis from Forensen to tie the game up at one apiece. And then in the second half, in the 49th minute, Marcel no, who I think he was making his debut for St. Louis in this game. He had a dream debut, scoring what would be the winning goal for St. Louis in this game to win 2-1 against Dallas. So yeah, again, St. Louis is another team that, like a lot of these teams that are not doing very well in league play, this is a redeeming tournament where they can salvage of a bad season that they had. And I'm pretty sure also St. Louis fans are happy not only it did not end in a draw or a loss, they've already did better than what they did last season in the Leagues Cup, which was an absolute disaster that they had last year in the Leagues Cup. Though to be fair, they did face two of probably the best team in the league. I mean, first they face against Copa America, and then they eventually face what would be the the MLS Cup champion, that is the Columbus Crew. And then in the last game that I want to talk about as also a notable result is Toronto getting a 5-4 PK shootout win against the Red Bulls. And again, this is a bit of a surprising result as well because the Red Bulls have played very well coming into this Leagues Cup, where Toronto haven't done so. But when it went all the way to a PK shootout, and in the end, Sean Johnson once again haunting haunting the Red Bulls again. I mean, I'm pretty sure the Red Bulls are tired of seeing Sean Johnson, especially of all those days how he's been haunting them doing the New York Derby and doing his time with NYCFC. But he haunted them once more here in the PK shootout, denying Reyes in round 7 to win the PK shootout. And it was kind of weird too because originally it looked like they were saying that Johnson was off his line and the PK had to be retaken, but then they said it was good. So it was kind of a bit of a delay celebration, similar to what happened when you have a check for VAR, where there's a bit of a delay celebration, kind of anticlimactic celebration that is taking place. But nevertheless, again, Toronto, a bit of an upset, able to go on the road against a Red Bull side that has done very well this season at home, but they suffer the L in this game against Toronto in the PK shootout. But there you have it. That is pretty much it in terms of me looking at all these games from yesterday action. And again, today I'll try to do a full detail review of all those games. Though, the first game I'll talk about, which is NYCFC versus Querétaro, most likely I won't go too detail, at least in the first 20 minutes, because as I said, I think that game is already into the 20th minute right now. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you like, smash the subscribe button. As always, let me know in the comments below, what do you think of day 2 of the Leagues Cup group stage action that we had yesterday. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.